What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Digging Deeper episode with special guest Dominic Ricci in the building. I'm your host, Jaron, for this evening with my co-host, Errol Bremer.
Good evening, all. Good day, wherever you're
I'm not
watching
really
from.
I'm not in the building, man. I'm out in the field. I'm out where the gold is. Can't you smell it?
He's out digging.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
It's
everybody
amazing.
jumping on. I appreciate everybody jumping on this evening. It's going to be a really awesome episode. We got Dominic in the building, like I said. Very busy guy, extremely hard to get on the podcast, but I tell you what, we made it happen. So here we are this evening. It's good to see everybody in the building here. We got quite a few people showing up a little late. That's okay. We tend to be a little late ourselves, right, Errol?
Yes, we do.
It happens. Let's see here. So let's give some shout outs real quick before we get this awesome freaking podcast going. So let's start off. We got Tina Williams in the building, Paul Scheiber. We got Joseph Bossy, the Canadian Hillbilly, Stephen Bertrand, Frederick Messimer, Brad Dover, Boss Dog Mining and Prospecting. Holy moly. We got quite a few people already. Jeez Louise. All right, so let's get this thing kicked off here. First and foremost, the famous question of all, after 53 episodes we've done, Mr. Dominic, how the heck did you get into gold prospecting, and at what age did you get into gold prospecting?
Well, if you really want to go back, it's that growing up in California, that traditional story. Hey, fourth grade, you go through gold rush days. You don't know that gold was found anywhere except California. So I went through that in fourth grade. I'm out at my grandparents' ranch, and my grandfather, Papa, he's like, "What'd you do in school this week?" So proud little Dominic, 9 years old, starts telling him I learned about gold, and it's out there, Grandpa, it's out there. He kind of shunned me, because he was about cows, lambs, pigs. It's a dairy ranch. So he said, "All right, come with me." So he takes me up to one of his shops and moves a bunch of stuff, and there's this old steel something or other. It looked like a hubcap as far as I was concerned. Dusty, cobwebs, everything. He said, "Go wash that off." It was disgusting, but I did. And then we get in the Jeep, an old Willie's 52 Jeep, and we cruise on down the road. We go into this valley in the ranch. He had 1,000 acres. And we come into this little creek, and he says, "Is this what they told you to do?" And he goes and he scoops some dirt up, and he starts panning with this hubcap. And all of a sudden, he starts showing me a little bit of gold.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't realize it was that easy. Well, it really is not, but Grandpa knew where it was. But again, he was about the cows, the pigs, the lambs, all that stuff. So all of a sudden, that just was and thrilling. I mean, exciting.
Fired you
Always
up.
wanted to go back there. And then all of a sudden, life moves on and you forget all that. So umpteen years later, I get connected with, well, I'll share this story, and I'm sorry. I used to be part owner in a restaurant with my younger brother down in a little city called Fallbrook, California. And I remember driving through town, and there was this big old beat up truck, and it had this thing that said, Gold Prospectors Association of America. I'm like, what the hell is that? Didn't think about it. Well, all of a sudden it was parked in front of my restaurant one day, and there was these 4 guys in there, eating and, having a sandwich and stuff. Well, didn't think much about it. Forget that. Move on. Umpteen years later, I'm sitting at GPA offices having no idea what they really did. And I walked into the front door, and there's this big old picture hanging on the wall. And I'm like, "I know that guy. Is he here?" And they're like, "Do you really know? When's the last time you saw him?" And I'm like, "Oh, years and years ago. He was at my restaurant." So I share the descriptions of who it was. Well, later I'm up in the conference room with President, my boss, Brandon Johnson, and he said, "I heard you know my grandfather." And I said, "Yeah, is he still here?" No idea, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
But I explained those 4 people: the buzzard, George Massey, his son, Tom Massey, his son, Perry Massey, and Jake Hardwick. Never knew who the hell they were.
Wow.
And here I am working for that company.
Wow. That's
So,
crazy. So let's rewind a little bit. So around what time was this? Was this, early 80s, late 80s, 90s? Around what time period was this?
So the restaurant was the early 80s. And originally, GPA had an office in Bonsall. Then they moved up to a bigger, I think it's like a mobile home or something like that in Fallbrook. And that's where their offices were until George bought a building in Temecula, which is where, when I got hired almost 14 years ago, I walked in thinking, hey, where's this dude, man? I've seen him before. And he had already passed away. So that was 14 years ago, obviously.
Wow. So my next question would be to branch off of that. What made you want to meet the guy? What made you, what curiosity sparked in you to want to go to the building at the time where it was, to go and meet him? Was it that little bug that you had when you had first saw that gold in that pan, or was it because life gets in the way and you've got a lot of stuff going on as a young adult? What sparked you? Was it one day you just decided, you know what, I'm going to figure out what this is all about and kind of go from there? Or?
Well, not really. I actually walked in for an interview. I remembered the company. I became more of a business person. And I walked into this and I'm like, all right, I'm here to interview. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this about? Do people still do this? I mean, I was 9 years old. I
Right.
really hadn't heard much. So I was, what do you want to call it? The 99% that don't realize that people still go out there and mine for gold. So I'm showing up for an interview. I see that picture. I'm flashing back. Not only am I flashing back to the restaurant, but I'm flashing back to my grandfather who had passed also. And so a rush of emotions in me. But got to put your game face on. I'm here to interview and try to get a job.
Yeah.
And had an amazing interview with Brandon. He had just flown back from the Alaska expedition. He was up there for a couple weeks and was headed back. So, great interview. And I'm like, could I do this? I'm kind of a business guy, It's like I don't got dirt under these nails.
Right.
And Brandon challenged me with a couple of things to do. And we had a meeting set for 2 weeks later when he came back. And, boom, 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 here I am. Walked into GPAA and just started changing some things. He allowed me a lot of room to try to, evaluate what was going on in the business. And, that love from what I had from my grandfather, Brandon had his grandfather. I mean, there was just this big connection that was happening. And, the interesting thing is I just shared this on this podcast. There's probably only one other place in print, because I wrote a small article about this in the Gold Prospector magazine years ago, but nobody has really asked me, Dominic, how did you get started? So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, and that's one of those things for me personally, when I first met you, because that's kind of around the time for me when I was starting to take it more serious, planning trips every other weekend, doing as much as I could to not only get myself out, but to try to get my kids out more, outdoors, fishing, hunting, whatever the case may be. But for me, when I had thought about it with the Durkee, Oregon outing over there, I contemplated it, but I tell you what, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And when I had met you, the quirky, funny, outgoing guy you are, I'm like, man, I really got to know more about this guy. There's just something that I really got to know more about this guy. And since beginning of the podcast, you've been on the top of the list, and one of the guys that I've always really wanted to get to know you more, really get to figure out how you started with everything, because it's such an amazing thing when you can truly understand where someone came from, how they got into what we all love and do every day, and really have a better understanding of that individual, because there's a lot of individuals that never get that chance to fully get to know somebody and really, see what they're about and who they are and things like that. So very appreciative to have you on the podcast. That's for dang sure.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So back to what we were talking about. Another really good question I got is, so at that time, when you had went to go to that interview, had you started your family yet, or had you not had a family at that point in time yet?
I had started my family. Kind of call me the sort of Disneyland dad. I had 2 older kids, and then my youngest son, was my little buddy. And what I found was, as I was with gold prospectors and learning more about it, started going to gold shows. Brandon just like pushed me, right when I started. Hey, there's 3 more at the end of the year. You're going to 2 of them. I started meeting all these people, and I'm like, this is so cool. And it's like kindling on the fire, or throwing diesel on it. I mean, emotions. And I'm like, I got to get out there. My grandparents' land, was finally sold off, but I needed to get out there. Well, GPA, has a great chapter program.
Right.
And as I met some of the people, they said, Dominic, we're going to meet you at this place at 3:30 in the morning. We got a 2-hour drive. It's the last bathroom. And then we got, 7 miles down the pavement, 7 miles. But if we don't get to this certain point by 6 a.m., you don't leave till 9. And what I realized is you were like shooting right into the sun. So you had to get out there before the sun came up.
Yeah.
And I took my son with me. Dude, I'm new to this. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? But I want my son to have a good time. And I've shared this story. We're driving along, and Tom was this guy Tom was driving, and he says, "What do you think about the earthquake?" No. What do you think? What's the horror movie? Sorry, brain fart. But it's like, what do you think about this one? I don't like horror movies. I don't like it. And he just starts chuckling and laughing. Later, we're in the desert outside of Barstow, unloading the dry washer, and there's the name of it on the side of it. And I'm like, you weren't talking about a horror movie. And he's like, yeah, you're dumb, but you'll figure it out soon enough. Best day ever. Best day. And watch the whole process. And what was really cool was you got up early, you had adrenaline, you go digging. We're all learning geology and why are we digging here? Well, there's a trumpet plant. What's a trumpet plant? Well, that's an indicator. What are we doing over here? Well, the red rocks and I speak very simple, but the quartz and the red, when they come together and they come down and meet, that's where we're digging. It's an indicator. We found gold.
Wow.
My son started panning that day. And then the cool thing is when you leave, there was this Mexican restaurant you always stop, and that was final, wash your hands, but that was the final fellowship we had before the 2 hours back home.
Wow.
And that was truly the power of a GPA chapter and some of their people getting me more involved, and I felt very safe with them.
Right.
So
no,
that was that story.
That's absolutely awesome. That reminds me of that day that I was terrified to go down to Turkey, Oregon. Same exact concept. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Had no clue. Had never been to any claims, never been to, I've kind of been one of those guys that I do my own thing and I make sure if I go and do it, it's safe. I've been there before 100 times. So for me to go down there was, it was out of my comfort zone. But I tell you what, I called a friend of mine. He's not into gold prospecting, but he just loves to. We've been childhood buddies since basically when we both were in diapers, and I called him up. I said, "Hey, look," I said, I grabbed a slot down in Durkee, Oregon. It's a GPA LDMA thing. It's on LDMA land. And well, what's that? What's this? What's, question after question after question. So I'm trying to explain the best I can. And I don't know much myself, but we're like, screw it, let's do it. So we drove, I think it was 5.5 hours. We didn't know where we were going, but it was the adventure that was exhilarating, that euphoric feeling when you get in your vehicle during the summer to go to drive somewhere that you've never been to. You have that mysterious feeling, yet exciting feeling and thrilled, and we drove down there. And when we first got there, I didn't know, again, how any of it operated, anything like that. The second I got there was a guy on a 4-wheeler. You here for the dig? Yeah. All right. You tent camping? Yeah. All right. Right over there. Sweet. And that was Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Reynolds. He had his cowboy hat on. I was like, that guy seems cool as hell. Hell yeah. So we pitched our tent, and then I think we heard a bell ring or something like that. It's been a few years, and me and my buddy Darren, like I said, he had never did anything like this in his entire life, not even close, but he was just so thrilled to be there and be a part of it. And it was funny because first thing in the morning, we go and grab our breakfast. We're talking with other folks, and Darren's like, so what are we doing today? I was like, I have no clue. Never done this before. So let's find out what's going to happen. Right. So,
right.
Mr. Reynolds is like, all right, well, the guys that are digging, guys and gals that are digging, let's get on down there. So we kind of stood back and waited to see, where everybody was going, and kind of ended up going down to where all the high bankers were set up and everything. And the first day was kind of just getting our feelers for everything. And then the second day, we just went full blast. I felt like I had known everybody there the second day for years. It was the weirdest, craziest experience, but it was so warming and inviting because, all the old timers would come up to us and, oh, how many years you been gold prospecting? And well, this is kind of our first shot here. Well,
27 minutes.
It's like, well, good to have you here. And my buddy Darren, he owns his own business in concrete. So this guy would just run through the piles, just running through piles. And here I am huffing and puffing up a storm, just trying to get through a half a pile. And and then when we went to leave, the gold was all divvied up, and my buddy Darren, he was just blown away. He's like, oh, that's real gold? I'm like, yeah, dude, that's real gold. He still has that pile of gold. That's awesome. He has it locked up in his safe. And so as far as the experience with me personally with GPA and LDMA and how all that worked and works till this day is just awesome. It's a great experience, and it led into Prospecting Buddy being created. It led into the podcast, and so absolutely amazing, fun stuff. That's for sure.
Great story.
Yeah. So
by the way, Exorcist, that was the movie that scared me.
Oh, The Exorcist.
And there was a little dry washer that was called The Exorcist that he had, and I'm like, no, too scared of those things, man. Horror films and snakes, and believe it or not, I'm out in the wilderness where there's damn snakes all the time.
That is too funny. Yeah, that reminds me with the high banker. I had never seen one before, so I didn't know what I was doing, and so I had chucked dirt up onto the run instead of the box. Yeah. One of the guys was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue. I've never done this before." No, in the box, there's a screen. Oh, okay, all right. I kind of figured that out real fast, but
that's funny. That's great.
So back to what we were saying, with you getting into gold prospecting and mining. So you had started your family at the time. What did your fiance or / wife at the time, what did she think about all this with you going in and applying to GPA? Was she extremely supportive, ready to see what happens? Was she hesitant? How did that go about?
Well, I was single dad at the time. So it was really just me. And then when I started talking to my son, he was like, well, this sounds kind of cool. So, which is what led us to go out with the chapters when that started. And then it was, GPAA. And let me just, if I can, real quick.
Yeah.
The difference between GPAA is, that was George started that in 1968. Let's get all these mining claims together, give a place for people to go and mine and have fun. Well, a lot of those old timers, they wanted to go big and really go for the gold. They wanted to be dredging all the time. So in 76, that's when they started the Lost Dutchman. And the difference between it is GPA is claims and leases back east where there's no public land. LDMA owns its land. So we have gold bearing patented properties, which then we can put camping on. Therefore, you can stay up to 6 months and not, 14 days or whatever. So that's really the difference between the two. And, I was still learning that in the beginning with the company as well. And hitting gold shows and I'm a quick learner, so to speak, and I absorb a lot of information. Brandon had sent me up to Alaska to not oversee, but to learn that operation.
Right.
And up there, I actually, wonderful lady who has passed, and my stepdad was up there, and we were high banking up, not on the Bering Sea, but inland. And I just pointed down to the very, very last ripple in this California sluice high banker. What's that? And I pointed to it. And don't know if I can say it on the podcast, but it was like, holy beep, from somebody. And they shut the water, shut the water. Well, here was this beautiful nugget in the very last, I don't want to call it a ripple, it was the last little nugget trap before something would fall off. Wow. And we pull it out, and it was kind of this little S shape. Eventually, it got nicknamed the Super Nugget. And I was so excited. We found a couple of nuggets that day, and then a lot of finds. And we get back to camp, and there's my boss, Brandon, and I'm like, Brandon, oh my God, I got to tell you, I want to show you what I got. Dom, are you feeling okay today? Yeah, I'm feeling good. We were up at Creosis, and I want to tell you, do you need to go see Doc? No, I'm fine. I mean, a little sniffle, but not a big deal. But anyway, let me tell you what happened. Brandon, you're such a gold fever hit me. It hit me good. I was so flippin' excited with that nugget.
Yeah.
And, people ask me, Dominic, how much gold do you have? And I said, well, I don't know how much I really have, but I have one piece that's worth $1 million.
Yep.
And they're like, what? And I said, well, today's market is probably worth about 200, but it's $1 million nugget to me.
Sentimental value overpowers. Yep.
Yeah.
So I know I keep looking at my vial of gold, and I'm like, man, gold prices are nice, but I'm kind of partial to what I found.
Exactly. I had a real good friend, and he has a nice amount of gold, and sometimes you hit certain things in life and you have to sell some off, but you know what? The good thing is you can go find some more.
Yeah.
But again, you got to do what you need to for your family.
Yep. Big time. So
absolutely.
So back to what we were talking about there. I excuse me for picking your brain, but I absolutely enjoy picking your brain. I'm sure the folks that are watching right now, even Don went. This is one of the comments here. Dang, 68. I didn't know it went back that far. So, I think a lot of folks, including myself and even my co-host here, we absolutely enjoy diving deep into how you started and things like that. So excuse me if I try to dive deep. I absolutely enjoy it.
No worries.
Good deal. So you ended up getting hired. I bet that was a great feeling, ready to rock and roll, kick butt and take names kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, what would you say, like, would you consider yourself at the time a people person, or was that something that you kind of had to grow into and really work on? Was that something that you were already pretty good at, being able to talk with individuals and problem solve on a whim kind of deal, or was that something that kind of you grew into?
I will say I've been a people person, not at this level. And when I say that, a lot of my people skills were, business, dealing with, CEOs, COO, top executive people. That's a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah,
Um,
big time.
and I think that was part of that thrill going to those first gold shows, going, these people don't have, I'm sorry, anybody listening, these people don't have teeth. They're all wearing a hat that's dirty. They're all scruffy.
I love
Like,
it.
what the hell?
Yeah.
You learned in Alaska if somebody said, hey, do you know that guy? He was wearing a hat. Everywhere he wears a hat. Well, he had a missing tooth. Oh, they almost all. Yeah. So
Yeah.
but you start hearing their stories when you're talking to them at the GPA booth, and these are real people. Everyday real people out there. They're excited. They're sharing their passion, and that passion started overflowing into me more and more. And now I do believe my passion overflows into others.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what it's about, is teaching, the next generation, the next people. There's all kinds of people that want to come out, whether it's the gold, whether it's hanging out with people, experiences. Up here at Blue Bucket in Eastern Oregon right now, there's people coming out that I've seen, a couple of times, and I think they know their stuff, but they're like, no, we want to do your geology class. No, we want to do this. You never can stop learning, never. And again, we learn from, I don't want to say the old people, but the people that have been doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm not too proud to sit back and go, okay, I'm going to listen. So.
Now that's absolutely honest. Honestly, a really great answer. The craziest thing to me is, when we had went on our road trip, we had done a pretty extensive road trip. It was a 9-day road trip, and we were planning on hitting 3 states consecutively. And it was all, for all 3 of us, it was our very first road trip we had ever done something like this. We had
first time actually meeting in person for the most part too.
Yep. Okay. It was first time. Mr. Rob McGuire, good friend of mine, over in Ohio, and then Arrow over on the western part of Washington, about 5 hours away, 6 hours away. And when we had all gotten together, the first couple of days was pretty rough because we didn't know what we all wanted to expect out of each other and what our main big time goal was.
Oh, well,
let's go and bring $1 million worth of gold home. We all had different expectations and we really, but at the end of the day, it was all the camaraderie. It was knowing that we were going with each other. We were embarking on this insane expedition, and we were just going to ride it until the wheels fell off kind of thing, and it was just such a surreal experience. And I feel like that's how a lot of individuals that go to, whether it's GPAA claims or an LDMA outing, I think that is the same exact feeling that they get. It's not always about the gold. It's not necessarily always about the gold. It's about the experience of experiencing something that is extremely unique and being able to be around like-minded individuals, and it's different for everybody. You can't ever put a finger on why specifically someone wants to bring their family to do these different things. But I think in a general aspect, the fact of being able to embark on an adventure in itself, whether it's with people you've never met or people you go with every single year, I think that's the core of it, the root of it. You see a lot of individuals talk about that all the time. And with our 9-day road trip, we didn't take much gold back home. But I tell you what, I would do that that same trip over and over and over and over again.
We've got some stories though. There were some interesting stories from just trying to get to the gold, you know. I mean, there was one of the claims we tried to get to, we got most of the way there, and then we're like, yep, nope, wrong time of year. We're you know, we could go down and be a long walk back trying to find help. So
first 3 days was nothing but rain, and baby, more rain. And we just kind of took it with a grain of salt and ran with it. But and Don says dead firewood saw batteries. I had
no. Let me ask the question here. How do you prefer to cut your firewood?
Here we go. Okay, well, here's my most honest answer. I have caretakers that do that for me.
That's awesome. Well, now let me ask. Now, do those caretakers use a 3.7 volt skill saw to cut up firewood? It was a Craftsman and probably about 15, 20 years old, but damn if it wasn't reliable.
I learned my lesson.
No.
It caught. What size was the perfect branch? 3 inches.
About that big. Was perfect. Absolutely perfect. It cut all the firewood we needed. It just burnt up really fast. That was
nice.
Yeah, it was just really funny. I'm like, true outdoorsman here, 3.7 volt cordless saw.
Yeah. What you guys are sharing is it's the same thing. We impact a lot of people to come out to claims or events or things like that. There's the people that already know what they're doing, or there's people that come out and throw dirt, in the sluice instead of the hopper. They don't know yet. But they want to learn. And you don't talk about membership to these people, because if I said, hey, you guys want to join the LDMA for $4,000, why would I do that? Oh, the camaraderie is great. I got friends. I don't need to do that.
Right.
But you come to these events, like you had a great time. You leave as you're driving out the gate. It's like, I'll speak real. There's somebody that's here in the chat that got me to wear my first kilt ever. I'm not Scottish, I'm Italian, but you know what? I did it for him because he asked me to.
Right.
And there's a few pictures floating out there. But you talk about, he wore a kilt, or he said this, or we did that. Oh, I did get a little bit of gold. Here's my vial. That became the aftermath of it.
Yeah.
And we impact so many people. There's a lady here that I'm going to say, she can barely move, but up here, her wit, she's so excited to be here at Blue Bucket for this event. She just recently joined LDMA, and it took her 16 months to save up because she just wanted to pay for it and be done. She's happier than anything to be here. Yeah. So that was kind of like, wow, people are really sacrificing to be part of this. I better up my game. That tells me I gotta make sure I'm taking care of people. But we have every walk of flavor that come into our camps, and it's just, to me, it's amazing that people come together, and it's a beautiful thing. And they come, and then they'll show up a year later, and then it'll be, hey, Jaron, I haven't seen you for a year. Boom, and they're back to being besties again and slinging dirt in the hopper again.
Yep.
So.
And that's the thing is you're not just kicking up dust, you're really changing lives, and having that responsibility. And I wouldn't even call it responsibility. I'd call it more of a blessing, that blessing of being able to change lives, young and old, is just huge. It's monumental. When we started our podcast, I never thought in a million years it would have changed even one life. But the fact that it has changed quite a few lives and has helped with positivity in a lot of people's eyes, it's just such a blessed feeling to have. And with GPA and LDMA. We have a few comments here I actually wanted to post up here. So James R. Bowman Jr. says, being a member of the GPA and LDMA, I have found that the gold is in the people, not just the ground.
There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know, it's we got another one here, Brad Dover. Yes, Dominic, you are absolutely right. We always have a blast. You know, so you know, just with the few folks in the chat tonight, I mean, clearly it's changed something in their life for them to be excited to have you on the podcast tonight. You know, it's huge. It starts from the smallest act of kindness all the way up to changing lives, and that in itself is huge.
It does, and please understand, you know, I'm very humbled with people, and it's not just me. I may come in and be one person that's trying to, you know, create energy and help people, but it's the members that are there. It's the caretakers. It's you know, longtime LDMA member. It's everybody coming together that make this happen, and I think
people.
that's. You know, we have a couple of weird, you know, uncles, weird aunts, you know, every family has that. But for the most part,
Don is like the weird uncle.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Don
that.
is like the weird uncle, right? The guy that comes to every barbecue, but nobody really talks to. You know, he's that guy. Yeah, yeah.
But you know, there was this was probably about two years ago. I was at our Loud Mine property in Georgia, and this wife had called and signed up her husband and herself to come to this common dig, and the husband was very standoffish, would not talk, not shake a hand, you know, just was always back behind people.
Right.
And a couple days go by, and the wife comes up and goes, can you tell me where my husband is? And I'm like looking around, I'm like, isn't that him right over there? It looks like him, but that's not my husband. I think I saw that man walk into your trailer with you, but you know, I'm not going to judge you. You know, I mean, I kind of said that to be funny. She said, let me tell you, my husband has had, you know, PTSD. He hasn't left the house. This is the first time he's left the house in 8 years.
Wow.
He'll go outside the house, like mow the lawn, like leave the property.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk to people. He won't answer the phone. That guy over there that you're pointing to, Dom, he's smiling. I haven't seen a smile on my husband in years. He's talking and he's working with people. And I stopped and you just have, holy crap.
Blows you away completely.
We impact people.
Yeah.
And since then, they have been back. They come back at least once a year. Well, I don't want to say just when I'm there, but for an event once a year. But they do come back other times. So, you know, I've heard them all. You know, I've heard the veterans. We have a lot of veterans. I've heard them go, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Why? The hum of the backhoe, you know, flashbacks.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go. I'll help you pack up, you know, and it's that knack that you can have where you kind of help them and then you calm them down and you go, you know, I really wish we had somebody that could help over there.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're like, unpack, I'm staying here.
Right.
We touch a lot of people. You know, a lot of things I've shared with you haven't been about the gold. It's about people.
Yeah.
Trust me, I like the gold. You know, I mean, something's around. Hey, here it is right there.
There it is.
Love the gold.
Chunky Dunky. Yes, we do.
Chunky Dunky. I love it. But just great people. Great people.
Yeah. I mean, through all my experiences with all the different people that have entered in my life since prospecting, you know, even some of the folks that I no longer talk to, you know, they've all made a huge positive impact in my life, you know, and has invited me with open arms and just have created some absolutely amazing memories that I will cherish till the day I pass away. You know, it's not one of those things where it's a regular camping trip you go and do, you know, it's this funny thing happened or this crazy thing happened, or you found, you know, this good gold, or, you know, and it just sticks with you, you know, it's We got a comment here, Mr. Alaska Gold Hunter. He says, early 90s, 9 years old, seeing GPA on TV by the buzzard before he passed got me into the passion of mining on TNN. I had no support by family, but I knew there were others like me.
That's powerful.
And it really is. It's absolutely crazy what this community has morphed into over the years. You saw an incline late 80s, early 90s because of GPA. You saw this huge incline, and I'm sure there was other clubs, not to give them credit whatsoever. But you saw this huge shift, in the 90s and then the early 2000s. And, with the little bit of history that I've researched and all the different folks and old timers that I've talked to since beginning this podcast has dramatically opened my eyes to the shift in the community and where the community is at today. It's absolutely insane to see where the community is at today. A lot of us can reach out to someone on social media and in some of these reputable groups, or reach out to you, or reach out, and instantly get an answer or a reply or help with something. In the 90s, that was just not plausible. A, we didn't have the adequate technology, but B, a lot of people held their secrets to themselves. You see, nowadays, these old timers, they want to give the knowledge. They want to help share what they know and pass that on to the next generation. And that in itself is huge. Absolutely.
It's
huge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because James Bowman has this thing in the chat. Back at North Carolina, probably one of my first outings back there, I was walking by, and here's how the story was told, because it was about me. I was walking by and somebody said, "Hey, who's that guy?" And in North Carolina, I'm sorry, not disrespecting, they all speak in one word sentences. So what they asked is, who's that guy? Well, there's that Dominic fella. So
I love it.
Dominic fella is my name when I'm in Bane Mountain in North Carolina.
I love it.
Here it is. It sticks later, and I haven't seen James in years. He used to help out his crew back there when we would do outings, and this is warming my heart being here.
Yeah, this is funny. One of the best days in my prospecting adventures is the day I met that there Dominic feller on this broadcast. Dom, you're definitely an upstanding gentleman and an asset to the organization. Absolutely awesome. It's crazy to see, like I said, the impact. It's a continuance of what GPA is all about. It's a continuance of what LDMA is all about. They couldn't have picked a better guy to put in that position and really help, thrive and really, start to develop these friendships with all these folks that are building the community and creating such a positive impact. It's absolutely awesome. Ton of fun.
Well, you think about it, back in George's day, he had a vision, he had a dream, and he bought time on TV because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And then he created his channel, outdoor channel, and however things went down after that. But now today, we have the internet. We can buy equipment on the internet, off the internet easily. We have podcasts. We have so much education sitting at our fingertips that we never really had before. I remember 10 years ago, it's like Gold Fever, Tom Massey's show. Why do I have to wait till 2 a.m? Okay, we've got DVRs. You can actually tape it and watch it later. It's okay. But I think we are so far ahead. You're watching people that used to have to go test everywhere, to figure out, their 10-pan test in different areas to figure out where they really wanted to dig.
Yeah.
And today, you can throw up a drone and fly it around to see indicators and then decide where you want to go.
Yep.
We have so much new technology, but you can't forget the old ways.
Yeah.
Because again, gold is where you find it, and listen to the old timers because they didn't get it all. It's still out there. It just may be smaller, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember right, there's something along the lines of $3 trillion of gold, raw gold, still left to be found. $3
Yeah.
trillion is what was the rough ballpark estimate. So, gold is definitely where you find it, whether you find it in the ground or you find it within another individual. At the end of the day, it's what you take home from either of those, and that's the win-win situation right there, big time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so we got a few more questions before we take our little 5-minute break. I kind of wanted to shift gears a skosh. So with social media, with the way social media works, with the way, you can go live and things like that. So when you do all of your lives on some of the events that you guys host and some of the places that you go to, and this is a funny one, do you spend more time having to take care of all the setup and the this and the that, or do you spend more time with everything else going on at the dig? Because with social media, it's extremely hard to balance that life, right? If you're going to this place, this event, this, that, and the other, with social media, you still have to do the social media thing and the presence and yada, yada, yada. So how do you try to balance that out with how social media is these days? How do you balance that out when you go to these events and things like that? Do you have a set time you give yourself, or do you just
That's a
run with
great
it?
question.
Yeah.
I'll say it's both of what you just said. Ahead, I'm a control freak. I like to plan things,
Yeah.
and I spend a lot of time doing that. And then you get there and you realize that your plan went out the window because this pump won't start. This happened here. So, in all honesty, I am 100% winging it all the time. A lot of people have heard me say, "Listen, I'm not TV material. I'm a one and done. If I shoot something, I will make fun at myself for flubbering on it."
Yeah.
It works because if you go back a few years, I did my very first Facebook Live. I was at Southern California at Duesenberg, and I just started talking and walking around and doing some things, and all of a sudden I'm trying to sign off because I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a message from one of the people in the office. No, keep going. Okay, what am I supposed to talk about? And then they say things. That was my first experience with Facebook Live. I didn't do Facebook before I came to this company.
Right.
I'm blessed. I have a beautiful wife right now. She's taught me some of the things of Facebook. But you go Facebook, that was my start. Now it's like Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. I'm not one of these people. I don't have a lot of time to do it. And I'm sure there's a lot of easy ways. If anybody wants to give me a little teaching lesson, I'm very teachable. But your question is, I try to plan, but I just dig
Run with
in. And
it.
a lot of times, like I just posted something the other day. I kind of took it off of a TikTok format. I'd walk up to somebody, here at Blue Bucket, and it's like, hey, you're at the event. Why are you here, or whatever like that. And they all just started going, I'm at LDMA Blue Bucket and I'm having a great time. So I just started putting those clips together, and they're all happy.
Yeah.
I'm a person on the fly, and I wish I had more organization over it. I just haven't figured out how to get that time to do that yet.
Right.
So again, anybody want to teach me? I'm real open.
Well, I think that's what makes you as special as you are when you go live. Whether I'm at work or I'm out, wherever the case may be, I have instant notifications when you go live at the places you go to and the events you do. And that's what makes it special when I watch these lives that you do. It's kind of like, so what do you got going on over here? And it's exciting because it's like, all right, he's getting into the dirt and the grit and what people are doing and what the event's about and where it's at. And and for me, like we spoke about earlier, pre-podcast a little bit, was winging it, just having fun with it. When we'd love to do the pre-scripted thing with the podcast, but it's not in the cards for us to have a fun, successful podcast when we just go overly scripted. So from then on, we would just let it run and see what happened. And with the lives that you do, it's been a fun concept to see. You just run with it, and every time all the lives that I've seen, I absolutely get a chuckle out of it. I just
good.
It's a lot of fun. So yeah, so
people get a little scared sometimes because I'm going on camera, but you don't see yourself on camera. You may see yourself later.
Yeah.
But you know what? I want people to feel special when they're there. So you know what do? I walk around. I poke a little fun at them. I ask them a few questions. I move on to the next, and they're happy.
Yeah. Yep. No,
Simple
that's
formula.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and that's for us, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I'd have sticky notes everywhere. I'd have so many sticky notes all around, and I'd just hyperventilate, and because I had never been kind of like that social media, going on camera kind of thing. And first 5 episodes that you could look back on our YouTube channel, I stutter every 3-4 words, and and that's because I think I was just overthinking the whole process, and I think when you just let things run, especially when you're out on an event and you have people, digging and just going to town, second you click that live button, you just run with it. And it's an amazing thing to see. It always makes magic. It's an awesome thing to see for sure. So thank you for answering that question. I have a bunch of those coming your way. So so without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break. Mr. Ronnie James, I'm going to drop in some of your comments. I apologize. I'm trying to do the comment thing. It's one of those things I'm still trying to learn, you guys, is, two screens and comments and blah, blah, blah. So, let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to the second part of the podcast. And I got some more amazing questions for you. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Woo-hoo. All right. We will see you guys back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
What's going on, everybody? We're back in the building after a 5-minute break. I'm sure someone had to grab a drink or use the restroom or something along those lines. I know I did, so I'm sure someone else in here had to as well. But welcome back to the second half.
I'm just panning, but I got a safety pan. But look,
where's mine? I have one too.
Oh, won't pick it up.
You got a ton of dirt in there.
Yeah, but
no.
Have you actually gone out panning and tried to find a gold with that little tiny pan?
Okay, true story. One of our LDMA members, Freddie back in South Carolina, makes a bunch of these little pans with his 3D printer. I use them for all different kinds of stuff. Well, we a couple years ago, they were in Colorado, and I flew in. We were actually doing a sizzle reel for Discovery with Dakota Fred. And at the end of all that, we went to a certain mine, did a tour, and at the end of it, they give you a pan with sand in it, and you get like 3 flakes of gold in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it'd be funny to see if Dakota Fred could pan with this little 2-incher, and he did. And I actually put a video up on our Facebook page. So yes, they actually do work, and I've had a lot of fun with them. But thanks to Freddie and Brad Dover, he's helped with that too.
Yeah, Freddie, bless his soul for sure. Yeah, so second half of the podcast. Let's see here. We got a couple really good comments. Mr. Cliff Summer, he says, oh, where'd it go? Comments are just running through here. Give me 2 seconds. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. Cliff Summer says, in case anyone here isn't a GPAA member, but considering it right now until the end of the week, lifetime membership is on sale for $800. It's a heck of a deal. Lifetime. We're talking the rest of your life. Great deal. I'm going to be putting up the website, both links. So anybody that's pondering, kind of jumping on the fence about the idea, I'm telling you, make it happen, get it done. I'll put the links up at the end of the podcast, toward the end of the podcast, and that way you guys can jump over there and take a look. I got a bunch of really cool events going on. Fun stuff. Absolutely freaking bad to the bone. Let's see here. So on the second half of the podcast, I wanted to ask you some of the quirky things and the ideas, some of the cool ideas, or some of the reasoning behind some of the ideas that you guys have came up with in some of the events that you guys had or have, excuse me. And one of them is Clash of the Trommels. That's an absolutely bad to the bone idea in itself. And it just, when you hear Clash of the Trommels, you're like, oh man, this is going to be some bad to the bone stuff. So with that being said, what was the idea behind that?
So years ago, GPA used to host an event kind of by our Italian bar property called the Mother Lode. So as soon as Alaska was done, then there was 3 1-week events down there at the Mother Lode, and it was a major dredging event, and it was limited to 20 people per week. Well, California dredging goes bye-bye. Obviously they can't run the Mother Lode anymore.
Right.
But it was something that Brandon wanted, some kind of Mother Lode, and he challenged me. Don't challenge me. I will figure it out. So all of a sudden I come up with this concept. I found the property, Clash of the Trommels is not hosted on a LDMA property. We use a property for housing, and quite honestly, it's because we don't want to use the reserves of LDMA.
Yeah.
So we're burning and churning where the group that has these claims has a plan of operation. We go through the BLM. They know that LDMA is coming in for 2 weeks out of the year. And bottom line is, we move 150 to 200 yards of material a day, sometimes more than that. I'm not trying to say, Gold Rush, Alaska, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, the whole concept, Battle of the Trommels, that's how we started. And I had to identify worthy components, basically. So Brad Dover, who you had mentioned, he has this trommel called the AU Dragon. The claim owner has oh, Brad, shut up. The claim owner has this junkyard dog, which looks like a piece of junk, but the thing is slower, but it works. And then another gentleman came up that had a great trommel, and they set him up, and everybody's looking at each other like, I'm going to kick your butt and whatever. And what they realized real fast is they were all there to work together. So there really is no battle.
Right.
It's just the trommels. Maybe it's the people battling the trommels to, stay working, because, mining's mining and things go down.
Yeah.
I will say every year we up the game more and more. And that very first year, everything was fed with buckets, which means we were hauling dirt and dumping buckets.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I think the second year, that gentleman, Freddie Beck, he comes out in front of everybody, puts me on blast. Hey, Dom, why don't you just go rent a mini excavator? That'll feed one of the trommels.
Oh, jeez.
So, okay, now Brad wants me to tell the truth. So Brad's trommel that he has, the AU Dragon, it's a great trommel.
Yeah.
But you know what? The hopper's too small. Can't fit a mini excavator bucket in it. I went up to him and I said, listen, and I wrote about this in the magazine one year. I said, Brad, we need something a little bigger, a little badder.
Yeah.
A little better.
Yeah.
That SOB did it. And he created a bigger one called AU Gladiator.
Jeez.
And brought that out. Yes, like anything, there's been some challenges here, change the drive, change this. You have to realize the kind of volume we're throwing through these things, they take a beating. So bottom line is, it to me, the way I say it to people is, I scare you by telling you how many yards we're moving.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it's easier than you having to sit there with a shovel and a bucket.
Oh,
because last year we had mini excavator feeding the Gladiator, a backhoe feeding Old Rusty. That's our big trommel that we rebuilt from John Reynolds did at Burnt River.
Yep.
The junkyard dog, they were kind of doing some buckets, and then one of our guys that has a bunch of equipment went and hooked up his little short arm backhoe attachment to his Kubota. We built a platform so it could just make it over into the hopper. No buckets were used last year.
Nice.
So this year it starts in 2 weeks. I'm hoping to do exactly what we did next year, and I'm scared to find out how we're going to up the ante, because every year we up the ante.
It's eventually it's going to be a new TV show called Clash of the Trommels.
Well, the interesting thing is, the property that we're on, we could throw a rock to where, that one guy used to have a show going on. What was his name? Todd Hoffman, who could, the bottom line is, he couldn't find enough gold recovery for what his expense was.
Right.
So, our expense, yes, we have an expense to it, but, the participants, on average, and, Brad will probably put it out there, but, they're each week they're walking away with, I think the lowest they ever walked away with was like just under $600 gold value at that time. Jeez. But a lot of times, $600, $700, $800, $900 each person is taking away that week. So
that's
it's
insane. That's
You know, we ask people, we want you to know, hey, if you had to lift buckets all day long, can you do that?
yeah.
And sometimes a few sneak by, but it's a good time. You get more of a real Dominic because I don't have to energize 100 people. I just have to keep 20 people going. And we
Right.
and that's when Brad gave me a kilt and said, Dom, put the kilt on. Well, if Brad asked me to put a kilt on, I'm going to do it. So,
That's
so
absolutely awesome. Great explanation to Clash of the Trommels. Absolutely fascinating. It really is. When I first heard about Clash of the Trommels, I didn't really know what it was, what it was all about, and what it entailed, and things like that. But to see it grow into such an awesome kind of event in itself is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
yeah.
Let's see. We got a few comments here. 2020 was our best year. 1.5 ounces each to take home. That is just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
One of the cool things is I'm too cheap to buy a clipboard, so I always buy a white bucket. And we have a process, we clean the trommels, we run it through one piece of equipment, then we put it on a water table, then we, take the clean gold, fire it up, so we dry it and we weigh it. And every day those weights, we do two cleanups midday and at the end, and we write those numbers on a white bucket, very informal. Everybody sees everything. Everything's
Right.
right out in the open. Sometimes people have known Dominic to, tip a little gold in your hopper here and there. Clash of the Trommels, Dominic doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It's all what we are recovering.
Yeah. I was gonna say, back when I went to the Durkee Organ dig and experienced that, that was actually pretty cool because we had gotten quite a bit of gold out that those 2 days that we had dug, and we had came up to the shack there, and you're like, well, since you guys did this, I'll tell you what. And then a couple old guys chimed in, throw some in, Dom. Come on, throw some extra in. And so then, you ended up throwing some extra in, and we were all just like, our eyes just got big, like bug-eyed, and it was absolutely amazing. So, with
Yeah.
Clash of the Trommels, there's no need for that. You guys
No.
are killing it year after year after year. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. But yeah, so Clash of the Trommels, absolutely fascinating. And again, you guys, if and I'm sure you guys have all heard of it, but if you haven't, like I said, I'm going to put some links up here. You guys can go check it out. It's actually absolutely bad to the bone. We
Just
had
wanted to bring up that Gold Monkey Prospecting's birthday is tomorrow or today, and he's going digging tomorrow. So if anybody's down in his neck of the woods, he's looking for somebody to go dig with.
Happy early birthday, Mr. Golden Monkey.
Down there in Virginia.
Virginia. Heck yeah, man. Good deal. Hopefully you guys got some good weather over there right now. I have no clue how it's rocking and rolling on the East Coast yet. So heck yeah, good deal. Happy early birthday, man. So yeah, Clash of the Trommels. Awesome experience. Absolutely amazing. We had another comment here from Mr. NorCal. He says, nice. What are the annuals? And okay, so you kind of messed up on a little bit of spelling. No worries. He says, nice. What are the annual dues? And are you speaking about LDMA, GPAA? Go ahead and drop a comment and we'll come back to that. No worries. Let's see. Cliff Summer says, Dominic tipped a small nugget into my bucket when I was at Loud Mine. My boys were super excited to run that bucket to find it. That's awesome. Memories, man. I'm telling you what, absolutely bad to the bone. That's for sure. So my next question for you, Mr. Dominic, would be all the different LDMA places that you have to offer as far as the LDMA goes. I'm going to read off all these different areas. One of our moderators, before I get into that, one of our moderators, Mr. Stephen Bertrand, he's a really good friend of mine. He actually drove down for our very first group dig. So prospecting buddy, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, okay, where's some public land where I can have a bunch of us get together, have some fun. excuse me, he ended up driving all the way up for, I believe, your sister's wedding, if I remember right. I don't remember exactly what it was. Sorry, Steven. You can kick my butt when you see me next. But he ended up coming up, and he's like, yeah, I'll join. And we ended up going to Riggins, Idaho. And this guy, I love you to death, Steven, is 90 pounds soaking wet and kicked all of our butts with digging. This guy had the dry vac. This guy, I mean, just the quintessential miner / prospector. I mean, this guy is just bad to the bone. And you know, when we had mentioned that we were going to have you on the show tonight, he was ecstatic. He was excited to be able to have you on the show with Prospecting Buddy. So absolutely amazing. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. It's pretty awesome. Stanton, Arizona. Let's see what else we got here. Let's try to fix this. Trying to run this. We got Stanton, Arizona, Duesenberg, California, Italian Bar, California, Scott River, California, Blue Bucket, Oregon, Burnt River, Oregon, Vane Mountain, North Carolina, Loud Mine, Georgia. And if I pronounce this wrong, I'm sure all the guys on the East Coast are going to slap the hell out of me, Dominic. Oconee, South Carolina.
Okay, let me help you here.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Yep.
Got to say it. Oh.
Oh.
Cone. Point to your knees. Oh,
Knee.
cone,
Oconee.
knee.
Oconee. I was like, close. I was pretty darn close. But that's absolutely awesome. You guys got some amazing properties spanned across, you know, the states and things like that. So for every single preseason, I'm sure you get some sort of schedule that says, hey, you know, we need you here, we need you here, we need you here. How do you balance the work life with your family life during the summer? Do you, in certain instances, take your family with you to these events, and in other instances, you just fly to those events? What are kind of the ins and outs of, you know, doing as much as you do for the community and still maintaining a family life back at home?
Well, so a lot of people know Jen, my wife, actually works for the company as well.
Well, that
So
helps.
That does.
It does. You know, it goes. It's bi-directional. It's like I can pick on people, and then people will tell her, and she'll say, "You need to pick on him when he's at camp." So, you know, it's all a good thing. So Jen understands, you know, what I do and why. I mean, you know, one of the things they said is we were at Blue Bucket a few years ago when they had a huge eclipse, absolutely amazing, and we had about 172 people that were participants, not counting other people just in camp. And you know, we were giving away an ounce of gold for one participant as a special prize.
Wow.
And I just do my thing, you know, trying to create energy, having some fun. We get back, and at that time we had a company RV, which I drove up, and then of course, you know, she didn't want to join me, so she flew. So and I just picked her up. But
Right.
we get in the RV. She looks at me and she goes, "I don't like you."
What?
Believe it or not, as outgoing as I am very sensitive. And I looked at her, I'm like, but I love you. And she says, no. I love you. The guy out there is an idiot. So, you know, she knows the real me. But
That's my
I
wife.
share that.
Thank you,
I
Paige.
share
I
that to
love you.
say,
Same thing to a T. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. We play on that a little bit though, don't we? Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, I try to give my all to whatever. And there's different, you know, times that I want to be in different camps. You know, sometimes it's hot, cold, whatever. So it's, you know, winter at Duesenberg and Stanton, you know, is good times. Summer is usually my downtime, believe it or not, because I don't particularly want to go anywhere when it's, you know, 100 degrees or 100% humidity.
Yeah.
But there's these races, you know. Earlier, when my son was younger, I could get him out of school, he'd go with me.
Mm-hmm.
As he got older, couldn't go. My daughters have come on some of them, but usually now it's just me off by myself. And I'm more now flying in or driving in
Right.
than actually no more company RV. Just became too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
So I just plan out and I just like I said, I just want to give my all to people. And this year our events are different than we've ever done before, which most of our events are lasting anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, which you go,
Right.
that's pretty crazy there, Dominic. But I'm not saying that I'm there the whole time. I may be there and disappear for a few days and then be there.
Hmm.
Um, but it gives us, it gives us the opportunity. There's some people that will be there the whole time. There's some people that'll come in on weekends. There's some people that'll hit 3 days. It all depends. And we're also offering a variety of events inside the event. So
Right.
you could be, land dredging one day, doing a geology thing one day, running material on your own, doing a comment, detecting, I've had Garrett metal detectors at Stanton. They'll be coming into Blue Bucket in another week, to train people, whoever. So offering more of a variety than the normal
Yeah.
that we would do, because there were a lot of times that, okay, well, this time I'm in Stanton and I'm, doing a comet dig. I come back, I'm doing a detector hunt and training, and then I come back and it. I'm probably the same amount gone, but I'm more focused on the camp itself.
Right.
And it so far, we're in our second one. Stanton, the first one, I believe went very successful. Some of the one complaint I got on it was, "I'm too tired. I'm doing stuff every day." Don't do something every day. Take a day off.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog Day. Every day it resets.
Yeah.
You can take a day off. Um, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And here at Blue Bucket, it's been going fabulous. I mean, we had a little bit of rain yesterday, a little hail.
Yeah.
But when I say we're changing it up, you'll see some posts out there. We do ATV runs. Well, what's that have to do with prospecting? Well, it really has a lot to do with it because we actually tour a lot of geology. We teach a lot of things on the way.
What to
And
look
then
for.
boys and their toys, and I shouldn't say that, women in their toys as well. We have a good time. I think the one we just went on was 45.7 miles. We climbed 4,000 feet in elevation. We went down all the way down to the Snake River. So we're having a lot of fun, and it's nice because it changes up the day to day, you know, aching muscles from shoveling all day long.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
and and I think also changing with the times. You see different events become extremely successful, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
you want to do so much more to branch off of those different events and create mini events in those things. And that
right,
allows every single person at that event to be able to have something that interests them. And that's
exactly.
that's an exciting thing to do because I'm sure starting off it was, with certain events, it was one main event. That's what it was. That's what you're there for. So, it is what it is. And I think the changing with the times and allowing to have more events and more things going on within these events allows really every single individual to have options, to make them feel comfortable with whatever they want to do for that day. Whether it's taking a day
Right,
off and going and hanging out with some other folks, whether it's, okay, today I'm going to dig as hard as I can, whether it's, ATV ride, you're giving them those options. And that in itself, changing with the times, is an amazing thing to do. And I'm sure more than anyone how much more participation you get by allowing those different options at these events.
we do, and I said, "Hey, we're going to do land dredge." I just call it a volcano. What is it? We build a big ass pile,
Yeah.
and then you kind of core down, and we're just, we have Proline, and then we have Prospectors Dreamed. They called it a unicorn because they said I was crazy, and it's fancy dancy, and it's all fun. We love it, and so they're just basically sucking down a pile. They're
Yeah.
just not in the water dredging. and nobody thought about doing that.
Right.
And then, of course, my enjoyment is watching these people flop around like pigs in a mud trough with smiles on their face, laughing the whole time.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and they're like, "How did you think of this?" I just want you to have fun. That's all I
Yep.
want you to do.
Yep.
And
That's
then the
huge.
other day, I put a little bit of gold in my hand, and I said, "This is what you guys are looking for." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay." And I dropped it in the top of the volcano. They're like, "Why did you do that? Suck it up."
That's awesome.
It's just, but I will tell you, young and old are doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm strictly talking age there. And they're lying in there and they're laughing and having a good time.
Yeah.
So, they're doing things that they never thought they could. And then others are just, hey, I just want to run my high banker every day.
Yeah.
That's okay. So
Well, and
good
that's the
stuff.
thing. Today's day and age, I think we all need that more than ever. I mean, we don't need to get
Yeah.
into details as to why. I think we all know why.
Yeah.
You know, the more we can bring into the community as far as memories and smiles and positivity goes is a huge thing, and it makes a massive difference to the community in a whole.
Yeah.
So I have a few more questions, as usual. Some awesome questions, I hope, and I hope I'm not picking your brain too much there, Dominic.
No, you're doing great.
So with the GPA magazine, I'd love to bring that up. Awesome magazine. Over the years, I've seen a shift in the way the magazine works, in what's published, and I can't put a grasp on just how it's shifted into such a community-based magazine. It's and you see those things with different companies over the years. You see a shift changing with the tides, as they say, right? And
Yep.
and I preach quite a bit about quite a few of the issues that have been coming out with the GPA magazine. You see a lot of more community-based content. And with that being said, Amber White, huge shout out to Amber White. She's killing it. She's
Absolutely.
doing it.
I just, when you saw my head down, I was texting her going, "You're on." And I'm hoping she's still on.
No,
Amber, I
that's
think, has
awesome.
done an amazing job.
Yeah.
Um, there she is. um, but she took charge of the magazine a while back, and has her plan, and I think she has been implementing. She's had challenges. The production of it, the
Yeah.
writers of it. Trying to find that good content and make it more content, like you say, for the community instead of
Yep.
just you know, when's the last time, and be honest now, when's the last time you went and picked up Cosmo and for the articles,
Yeah.
and, you're sitting
Lunch.
there going, 50% of it lunchtime? 50% of it is just, garbage.
Yeah.
Amber has sat there, and she's very particular on her percentages,
Yeah.
very demanding on getting content in there, and I think, like you said, kudos to her. She's doing an amazing job, and,
It's
you know
crazy to see. It's crazy to see that shift, as rolling with the tides kind of concept. It's crazy to see the tide shifting in the community all across the board. GPA, LDMA, you guys are huge. I mean, you guys, you're up there, and all the way from the top down, even to the weekend warrior, you see this shift, in really embodying the community as a whole, not just the guys on the top, not just the
Yeah,
guys in the middle, not just it's shifting into a whole different culture, and it's an amazing thing to see. And with Amber White doing what she's doing with the magazine, it's intriguing to me when I see these different articles, whether it be from a company or from a person that just is doing their own thing, love what they're doing, just to be able to see that contrast page after page after page, and being able to see how she just embodies the community as a whole is just absolutely amazing. It's a
yeah.
it's a time to be alive, to be honest with me. It's such an exciting thing to see. It's really, really absolutely awesome. She has a comment here. Let's see right here. She says, truth be told, Dom doesn't get enough credit for all the plates that he keeps spinning. Head being modest and not telling y'all that he comes up with all the events, the activities, the marketing, the travel, the socials. He's a one-man show. And to that, Amber, I say this guy is absolutely an insane wealth of knowledge all across the board. That's why I'm picking this guy's brain tonight. 100%.
Wow.
So
Powerful.
absolutely, absolutely awesome. So I definitely have a few more questions. So, Amber White, shout out to Amber White, GPA editor, absolutely amazing. She helped publish the article that we had for Prospecting Buddy. Just bringing positivity to the community is just huge. But so shout out to you, Amber. Shout out to you, Dom. So the next few questions I do have would be what we kind of talked about pre-podcast, pre-show. So what were you expecting? So when COVID hit, what were you expecting to happen pre-season? So before summertime, what were kind of the gears you were shifting to make sure everything was still rocking and rolling?
Interesting question. I don't think we all understand a lot of COVID at that particular time.
Right.
But, first off, LDMA, who was hosting events, they wanted people to feel safe first and foremost. And, our old program had been, this common dig, which you had been a part of, and, everybody's together.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fighting, we had to cancel Blue Bucket. I believe that was in April when that all started going down in March.
Yep.
So I'm thinking it was July that we sparked back up, and some people dropped out. There was concern, COPD, different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, everybody said, we're going to be there. We need this. We want this.
I was one of them.
There was that fear, but you have to realize we're outdoors. We were one of the safest places to go to.
Yep.
I had people calling me and going, listen, I need to get to, let's say Oregon, and they were somewhere else, but they needed like travel papers showing that they were going somewhere.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
All right, let me send you a reservation for 6 months. Just show it; it'll work. You have to help people. But getting back to the outing, this outing kicks off, and what we kind of did was we went into more of what we call a push dig style, where we didn't bring everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
We'd say, bring your machine, and then we'd set everybody up about 10 feet apart from each other. If you guys wanted to commingle, go for it. But we weren't making you.
Yeah.
And I will say that more people were upset. They knew why we did that, but they were upset at the world for what was going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we take what we call a family photo at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this now. So we took a photo and we said, listen, stand in line, put your arms out, when you can barely touch the other person, then turn the opposite way. So everybody was staged way far apart. Yeah. And we took the family photo, and that's what got posted. That's what America got to see. Yeah. The real photos were, as soon as that one happened, everybody came together and we did our real photo, but we just didn't go public with it.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of people were saying thank you for that. But again, if you wanted a mask on, you got exactly what you wanted. We didn't hold back. And what we saw was our numbers were going through the hill because people wanted to get out.
Yeah.
A lot of people would come up because think about businesses, they were failing or going down. And Dominic, are you guys okay? I didn't want to sit there and go, whoa, yeah, it's going. But we're doing okay right now. Then, as we came out of it, we had the reverse where, people go, I can go back on a cruise ship now. I can do this now. Yep. So, people went that direction, which, okay, then that's what hurt us a little bit.
Yeah.
We just didn't have as big in numbers, but we sit here and look at what we're accomplishing
Yeah.
and bringing people out in the numbers that we are. And sometimes I think we should even have more. Gold's at $2,400.
Yeah.
That's usually, when it jumps big, people are going out. Now, you also have fuel and everything else going up, but people are really just getting back and they're trying to do everything they can. But that's
Yeah.
how we made it through the pandemic.
Yeah. And that was crazy for me. That was right around the time I went, I believe. And there were some folks wearing masks. Some folks, were comfortable not wearing them. And, I'm one of those guys where I just was like, I'm not wearing a mask. I was just one of those guys. But to be able to see everybody comfortable, to me, I was okay with that. I was comfortable with that. So to listen to how you guys accommodated that situation is pretty cool. I have not heard anything negative around the COVID era time, with GPA or LDMA events, things like that. I'm sure it was a tough thing to get through, but you guys, just as every other business or every other person, navigated their way through it. And here we are today, being able to rock and roll as we are nowadays.
Yeah.
So with that, I appreciate you answering that question. I know that was kind of a question that's been kind of circulating. I've talked to quite a few different folks, was, kind of talking with how that whole COVID thing kind of impacted, you guys as a company, and you guys as a whole, as specific individuals flying out to places, doing things like that. I'm sure, you guys navigated just like anybody else did the best way you could. So my next question would be, so for this season, 2024, I'm going to put the link up real quick so that when I start speaking about some of these awesome events that are coming up, they can go and check them out. But what can folks look forward to in the 2024 season that's already essentially kicked off? I can't really say preseason anymore because it's not. It's already full swing, rocking and rolling. But what can folks look forward to for the 2024 season across the states? Is there some things that come to mind that you're excited to talk about?
Well, I would say the biggest part is it's new. We've never done this with multiple activities planned for each day. When we have what we call a 411, it's information on each event.
Yep.
And, part of that is the calendar. And really, it's like you have a menu. What do you want to do each day if you want to do something every day? And everything has a small fee associated with it. You do what you want. And what we're finding is there's people that don't understand some things, or they're waiting till they get there and they see what's happening, like the land dredging or certain trommels that we're running. And there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of talk going on. But I will say, I can write articles, I can put things on social media. People still don't get it. They just have to get there to truly understand it.
Yeah.
And there was some of the old regime that said, it's not going to work. Well, I only have 1 1/3 behind me right now. But what I can tell you, what's nice is, I'm at Blue Bucket, then I hit Clash of the Trommels, then I hit Loudmine. Loudmine right now in Georgia, which starts June 15th, it already has events that are sold out.
Wow.
Not every day, but certain ones are already sold out. It's building momentum right now.
That's amazing.
I'm laughing because I just saw Amber's chat in there, and she's kind of right with what she put. Don't tell me it's not going to work. And again, part of that is my passion to push through and make sure that people are there and have a good time.
Yeah.
And 24 totally different than anything we've done, like I said. And what's new is I'm even learning myself of going, okay, I'm going to change a little this, I'll change a little that. Not much. And I'm utilizing the properties for what we have. Now, earlier you kind of mentioned the states that we have LDMA camps on.
Yeah.
What you didn't say is there's actually other states that we have property we own, like Colorado, Nevada, and even in some of the states that you said, we just don't have a caretaker there. They're just private for our LDMA members. But we
Right.
also have, I use the term exclusive LDMA claims. I told you LDMA, we own property, but I started picking up claims that are exclusive for our LDMA members. The only way that you get a map to them is show up at the office. If you
Right.
ask me for them, I don't have them. I truly do not have them. They are only at Stanton, Burnt River, Blue Bucket, Duesenberg. Those are the ones that we're carrying them right now. So so at Stanton, when we did Dirt Fest in March, half of our events were out in the desert, 4 to 7 miles out, because we actually have a plan of operation on a group of claims, which
Right.
means Dominic can bring the backhoe out there. Dominic can tear up some dirt.
Right.
Okay, not Dominic. I have people, but
Dominic in a backhoe? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Who wants to take a break from chopping wood?
exactly. But I will say, and if there's anybody on here, there was somebody earlier, here at Blue Bucket, I've been on the backhoe more than I've not been on the backhoe. But again, part of that is my enjoyment of, hey, I'm going to deliver you dirt.
Yeah.
The only complaint that I heard so far was a certain load that I didn't load. The guy came up to me and said, Dominic, you really overflow the bucket. Can we get one of your loads? Not that small load. I'm like, we'll make it up to you. Don't worry. It's all good,
That's funny.
But we actually took one of the backhoes that we owned from Duesenberg in Southern California, and I actually shipped it to Blue Bucket. It was actually cheaper to do that than rent one up there, because it's rented for that. It's rented for Clash of the Trommels. It's rented for Burnt River, and then it'll appear coming back to Brad. Stop! It's not scary. It'll come back to Southern California. So,
No,
but yeah, to me, it's just a whole new concept, and probably the hardest thing is grasping what it's about, because everybody's used to, oh, I just show up, they have equipment, I shovel, I have my buckets. No,
right.
so
Well, and another big thing too is I know some of you guys follow Dominic already, with his personal page, and you guys are able to tune into the events as far as the videos goes and things like that. But I can't express enough for you guys to really jump into all those live videos. Be a part of it. If you can't physically be a part of it, be a part of it on social media. You get more info out and more info spread to folks that would probably love to do it. And I'm not saying dig your head into your phone more than you already should. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying use your time wisely if you are on social media, because there's a lot of different individuals out there that would love to jump on to jump at the fact of being able to join LDMA, join GPAA, get on a claim, go to an event. The more you share, the better. I promise you that. And by jumping onto these lives and, sharing it and just, pushing it out more to the community, I think would really, really help. Not only the community as a whole, but maybe some of your friends that you might not know that they'd want to go. I mean, big game changer. I tell you what, like I said, my buddy Darren, he's into concrete. He's not a prospector. He's not a miner. Never has been. Probably never will be. But me reaching out to him, heck yeah, that sounds fun. And he loves it. Will he go again? Probably not, because I had him do most of the digging. But but to be fair, it was a lifetime experience for him, and he absolutely loved it. So make sure you share far and wide. Social media is a heck of a thing, heck of a tool to use. It's absolutely an amazing tool to use if it's used in the right hands in the right way. So I think my last question of the evening We're going to go ahead and wrap up at 8. Mr. Errol Bremer himself has a dig coming up. He's got to get packing and stacking.
Yeah. I'm leaving bright and shiny early, and I haven't even packed yet. And I literally walked from my truck into my room, changed clothes, turned on the computer. I'm beat. I still gotta go.
Yeah. So
I know how that is.
Yeah, I bet.
I was going to say, of all people, that guy probably knows how that is. Big time. So the last question of the evening, and we'll go ahead and end with this question, is as far as GPA goes, aside from LDMA, and it might apply to LDMA, but can a lot of folks look forward to some growth with new claims across the states within, I'd say, the next 2-3 years? Is that something that you can confirm, or maybe give somewhat of an answer as far as branching out with new claims and things like that, Mr. Dominic?
It's a good question. So we just downsized some claims, which sounds kind of weird. Hey, gold's going up. What we're looking for is really not the quantity, but the quality. And for so
Right.
long, we were housing so many claims. And we have our online. This is for the GPA. There's the
Mhm.
online mining guide, and if we were in there looking for reviews, and we're seeing that nobody's going there, we would sit back and go, well, do we need this acreage, or should we invest somewhere else or in new areas?
Right.
Or you take, Arizona, Havasupai County, why do we need, 5,000 acres there? People aren't even using, 500 acres. So
Right.
we did downsize some, and yes, there's a cost that helped the company out by going, okay, let's down it a little bit. But we truly want to grow, but we want to look at more quality than the quantity.
Right.
And I can share that with LDMA when you hear me say the exclusive claims. I have people that want to offer LDMA claims all the time. And part of it will go, listen, we don't even have I only want them where people can house at our camps and then go. I don't want to just have something where we don't have anything. That would be more of a GPA thing.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's the right placement.
Right.
The good thing is I really work for both, but I'm mainly known for LDMA.
Yeah.
So you will see growth. I will encourage people, if you are using the claims, GPA claims, please go on and post. Again, if you have a picture, if it's about directions, if it's about whatever you want, post what you can, because that really tells us the claim is being utilized and it's worth the expenditure.
Right.
So, and with that, if people do have claims in any area, please let us know. We definitely are interested, and we definitely want to expand that, and I know we can.
Yeah. No, most definitely.
Yeah.
Arrow,
So-
did you have any?
I was just going to go over what Don Went was wanting to bring up. He wanted
This one here.
Yeah, there you go. And we kind of just went over that LDMA versus GPA with camps and whatnot. Camps on LDMA, open ground to go explore yourself with GPA, but dues versus annual GPA dues, please elaborate for the people watching.
Sure. So GPA, public land or leases. So basically means you can camp out, dry camp or whatever, up to 14 days is usually what it is. I believe it's, if you're brand new to GPA, I think the first year is $134, and then you renew $89 thereafter. Somebody earlier said, hey, the GPA lifetime is down to $800 right now. I think that's an amazing offer right there, because usually it's up at either $1,250 or $1,450. There are no dues for GPA. That's just straight membership. Right. LDMA used to always be a lifetime membership. There is a maintenance fee to it, which is annual. What I've done in the last year or so is we do still have the lifetime. And I kind of say it this way: if you're worthy and you understand the lifetime, and that will come with a $120 maintenance fee each year. Right now, LDMA is actually on special, and LDMA is just LDMA, is $2,000. It used to be $4,750.
Right.
If you want to add the GPA to it, a lifetime GPA, then it's like $2,500. Transferability, there's a small ad for that. If you want equipment, there's a small ad. That's the lifetime. If you
Right.
want, if you're, hey, I want to try this out, I'm not really sure yet, you can do an annual, a 1-year LDMA. It's a flat 550. There's no maintenance. Everything's built into it. 550. If it'll auto renew in a year if you want it to, or you can upgrade. If you're
Right.
not sure, or you go, hey, I don't have 550, we do even a monthly. The monthly you can either start it for $200 down and $50 a month, or $700 down and $25 a month, and you just pay for as long as you want.
Yeah.
So
That's
do the math.
absolutely amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
look at it this way, with the different, and I'll just say this real quick, the amount you pay for specific things you're paying for monthly as it is, with whether it be TV, whether it be internet, phone, things like that, and this is something you're passionate about, these guys are willing to work with you 100% to get you out there and make things happen regardless of where you think your budget is at. Absolutely awesome. I mean, that's amazing.
One of the things that I heard more this past week from people is the gold that they are finding at Blue Bucket. And again, every camp's going to be the same way. The
Yeah.
gold they're finding, people are telling me, one, they're finding more gold that pays their maintenance in a year, plus are making their payments. If you're going to go out and socialize and just sit there and whatever, obviously you're not finding gold. These are
Right.
people that are honestly working, and I'm not saying 8 hours a day. They're doing a little here, a little there. They're consistently adding to their vial and growing. I say that for LDMA. I say it for GPA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clubs out there. We're a great club, but I also encourage you, hey, get more acreage under you.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's there. You're shelling out money, but if you're out there finding your gold, you're replacing your cost real fast. So
Yeah,
keep
I
it up and
completely
keep
agree.
having fun with it.
I completely agree. All right. Well, that wraps up this amazing episode. Dominic, I can't thank you enough for jumping
No,
on this
thank you.
episode with us. Amber White, I appreciate you jumping into the chat. All the great folks that have jumped in, whether it was on YouTube or Facebook. One thing I'll mention before we jump off, Facebook has been screwy Louie with the lives and things like that. We finally got it figured out where we can now stream to our page, not the private group that we have, Prospecting Buddy, but our page. So I encourage all of you guys that are watching this evening, jump over to the page, hit a like, notification, whatever the case may be. That way, when we continue to do the rest of our episodes for the 2024 season, you get an instant notification. And then as well with the links, Amber White put a link in there. Amber, if you can go ahead and put that link in there just one more time. That way the folks that are watching can click on that, go check out what you guys got going on as far as events go. I mean, you guys have really made it as easy as you possibly can, both GPAA and LDMA, to get people on land. That's very affordable, very easy. And, with today's day and age with social media, you guys are easy to contact, easy to sort things out and figure things out. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you jumping on this podcast tonight.
Yes,
And from here on out, I hope we can get you on again, and maybe we can sneak Amber on one of these episodes. That'd be a ton of fun, I'm sure, too, right, Dominic?
Do you want to put that?
I would love it.
Do you want to put her link up on the screen real quick?
Yep. I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, I think that's a call out, Amber. So now you have to get on the podcast one of these times, right? that's an official call out, right? So yeah.
What you may or may not know with Amber is Amber has been with the company for a long, long time. She did take a little vacation from it for a short period, but she grew up with gold prospectors. So I know there's a lot that she can add to it, and she is just as passionate as I am about the company. So what you see up there is, if you hit the GPA store, Kevin has his gold trails that he has out there. My
Yep.
LDMA for anything LDMA, whether it's events or membership or information on camps.
Yep. Right there.
It's come out. I will say this: our camps are open to anyone, and what I mean by that is our members have paid a lot of money. They can stay there up to 6 months, and they get cheap camping rates, and they
Right.
get to go prospecting. If it's not during a event, our people, we call them guests, can come in for 14 days. They could pay a retail rate. It's going to be like any normal camping in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and they would pay a prospecting rate each day. That way, it doesn't take away from our LDMA members. So
Right.
just know if you want to try out a camp, you're welcome to come on in.
No, that's
I'd
awesome.
love to have you.
Well, I know I
Maybe-
need to kick my butt into gear and make
yeah,
it happen.
maybe you and I need to
Yeah.
figure something out.
Yeah.
Call me.
Hey!
Yeah, seriously. We will definitely get something figured out. I got twins on the way, twin boys. Due September.
Congratulations.
So it'll be a household of 7. So 2024
Wow.
season, I don't think I'm going to be running very far. That's for sure. So
Yeah, come this time next year, he's not going to have a red beard anymore.
it'll be white like Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the truth. I came to GPAA. I had light brown hair. I took over LDMA and events.
Yep.
What happened?
Yep. Now it's what
It's
we call
sun bleach.
pepper.
It's
We
sun
call it
bleach.
pepper. We call it pepper. It's called pepper.
Yeah.
Oh,
My dad always said salt and pepper is not a bad look.
Right?
There you
Hey,
go.
Dominic's rocking it. I tell you what, he's killing it with it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So, anyways, I appreciate all you guys this evening. From the bottom of my heart, I love all you guys jumping on the podcast, having a ton of fun. Digging Deeper podcast, best thing we've done with the PB family. Absolutely amazing. Ton of amazing community members jumping in and saying hi and sharing their thanks and love and appreciation. Dominic, I appreciate you jumping on this evening. Absolutely
Thank
awesome.
you.
Hopefully we can get you on another time. I think it'd be a ton of fun. So without further
I will
ado,
make
you
it
guys
happen.
definitely. Without further ado, you guys have a good evening, and we will see you guys on the next one. Have a good night, guys.